All right, today we're diving into a children's book. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but this is one of those stories that on the surface is simple. It's about a grandfather and his grandson. But when you look just a little deeper, it's this incredibly powerful lesson in American history, in family legacy, and about a right that was so hard-won for so many people. So, how can a book for kids possibly carry the weight of something as big and complicated as the civil rights movement? Well, this book, it manages to do it because it does more than just tell a story. It kind of opens a door to a really crucial and, let's be honest, often painful piece of our past. The book is called Granddaddy's Turn, and it's by Michael S. Bandy and Eric Stein. And the first thing you need to know, the thing that gives every page this real sense of gravity, is that it's based on a true story, a real-life experience. To really understand the power of this book, we have to start with the personal story at its heart. We have to look at Granddaddy's journey to that ballot box. You know, the story just kicks off with this incredible sense of hope and purpose. The grandfather tells his grandson that voting, it isn't just something you get to do, it's a sacred duty. It totally sets the stage for what should be a momentous day. So the emotional journey here is just, wow. It's so powerful. It starts with all this excitement, this hopeful journey, and then that hope is just shattered by a moment of deep, profound injustice. But right there, in that moment of pain, a promise is made, and it's a promise that will carry this family's legacy forward for another generation.
And the whole story really pivots on that one moment of injustice. Granddaddy is stopped by a test. But what was that really? This is the exact point where this simple children's story just cracks wide open into a much bigger, much more difficult part of history.
And that leads us right into the historical reality behind the story. See, this wasn't just some simple quiz. Oh no, it was a weapon. It was called a literacy test. Now, on the surface, that was supposed to sound reasonable, like a way to make sure voters were educated. But in reality, its sole purpose was to disenfranchise Black Americans, to systematically and very deliberately strip them of their right to vote. I mean, these things were rigged from the absolute start. Think about it. They were graded however the white official wanted to grade them. The questions were often just impossible legal jargon, things most lawyers couldn't even answer. And they were almost never given to white voters. This wasn't just a barrier. It was designed to humiliate, to discourage people from even trying. It's exactly this kind of injustice that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 would finally outlaw. And this is what makes this book so brilliant. The history of voter suppression, it isn't just background context. It's this invisible force, a silent character in the story that Granddaddy has to face, and it shapes the entire narrative.
So this brings us to the story's resolution, which is just, it's so deeply moving. It's where that promise, made so long ago, is finally kept.
You can really see the contrast here between the two generations. Granddaddy's generation, they endured this injustice with a kind of quiet, powerful patience, facing a right that was denied to them. The grandson's generation, they turned that patience into action, transforming that injustice into fulfillment, and honoring that incredible legacy. And the climax of the book is so simple, but it hits so hard. Years later, the boy is a man and he goes to vote. But he doesn't go by himself. He brings a photograph of his grandfather with him, making sure that, in a way, they finally get to cast that sacred vote together. When you step back, you just see how masterfully all these themes are woven together. Of course, it's a story about family bonds and legacy, but it's also about the much larger struggle for civil rights and about the virtue of patience, even in the face of terrible injustice. And, people have definitely taken notice. The book's impact is real. It was shortlisted for an NAACP Image Award, and it's been recognized as a truly vital tool for teaching one of history's most important lessons to our youngest generation. The message is just so clear and timeless for kids and for adults. It's a reminder that the ability to just walk into a voting booth, that didn't just happen. It was fought for, it was sacrificed for, and for so many, it was a dream they never even got to see come true. And that leaves us all with a final question to really think about. The grandson in the story, he carried a photograph. So what about us? When we go to cast a vote, what stories, what promises, and what legacies are we carrying into that ballot box with us?